Is the shtick for Angel Reese, is it starting to wear thin? Is the faucet of Angel Reese's celebrity starting to slowly slow down?
When did Angel Reese join? Everyone and Shaq's podcast network believed it would be enormous. Fast forward, her most recent episode only happened a few months ago. Received triple-digit views, which isn't a typo. Instead of thousands, we're talking about hundreds, millions, but the actual query is, just a side note, Angel's podcast is failing. A failed scam, or is it actively? Fans are harming her basketball career, publicly denouncing her for giving priority to reality TV interviews. Nobodies rather than concentrating on visitors who add value to today's podcast. We are dissecting the amazing, unapologetically Angel's breakdown and what it implies for her prospects in basketball.
Apologetically Angel launched in September of 2024 as part of Shaquille O'Neal's The Big Podcast Network. And of course, it is on YouTube. Go subscribe at your own damn peril at this point.
Angel took off September 2024 as a component of The Big Shaquille O'Neal's Podcast Network and YouTube, of course. Go ahead and subscribe at your own freaking risk. Angel re-announced her at this point, back on the podcast with Shaw's network. September's admirers were giddy. Angel was unrepentant about it, intended to be such a huge smash that would enable her to rule the court and with Shaquille behind the mic, the large podcast and O'Neal's support, resources of the network, how could it? Angel was riding high, potentially failing, following her basketball accomplishments, and this podcast looked like the ideal next step. Action to increase her influence and brand.
You guys, Angel Reese is definitely still running her podcast through Unrivaled, through this whole offseason, and it's looking like she might have just met her match with the viewership or algorithm. I don't know what it is, but her podcast has hit an immediate roadblock.
The initial indications appeared encouraging. Relationship with Shaq provided her with immediate credibility in the field of media. Fans of basketball were excited to hear from. Among the most talked about in the WNBA, industry insiders forecasted rookies. Angel might pursue a career similar to sportsmen such as Draymond Green, who effectively transitioned into the media. The podcast began with notable expectations, and fanfare were through the roof. But if you examine the figures, after only a few months, you're observing something startling.
Chicago Sky. I mean, people get more views covering her than her actual podcast with her in the footage interviewing celebs. I mean, I just cannot believe it.
Angels. Highlights from basketball games consistently pull in millions of social media views. Her podcast episodes are having trouble. Split into episodes using a triple digit that drew thousands of listeners at one point. When did the podcast debut? Hardly make it to a few hundred individuals today. Is a full dip, not just a little one. Decline in audience participation.
But this right here is looking spooky. I can't even lie to you, dog. I'm like, damn. How the hell did Angel Reese go from being superstar basketball player to views in the hundreds?
Why is this drop occurring? What's especially amazing is how quickly, which occurred, we're not speaking regarding a slow decline over many years. This podcast was eagerly awaited before, essentially abandoned in a few short weeks. Every new episode is less successful than the prior to it, displaying a distinct downward, a course that would worry any media. The stats don't lie. Executive is not a haphazard variation, but rather a regular pattern indicating a major underlying problems.
Angel Reese's podcast, I think for a lot of us, we believe this is the kind of thing she really wants to do. She doesn't really want to play hoop. She wants to play celebrity. All right, and that's fine. I mean, that's great.
This is all taking place at the worst possible time. When would Angel's basketball game be? Career when she need to be totally concentrated on assuming a position of authority. Force with the Chicago Sky in the WNBA. She's dividing her focus between media endeavor that is obviously failing the. There is no more striking contrast than Rising. Star on the court who is unable to support the host. The microphone.
Angel Reese haven't got over 5,000 views in over a week, dog. Last time she got 100,000 views was like a week ago. And it seemed like everything went downhill after this interview, bruh.
Even more revealing is the events taking on in her comment sections. Those who first supported her. Podcasts are now publicly available. You can locate someone who is doubting her priorities. Remarks such as, "You know what this shit. I'm unfollowing you, stinks. I'm unsubscribing to you right now." The unfollow button on her social media accounts is pressing harder than the play button on these episodes of her podcast. Are humans, not trolls or hate mongers, who used to reside in Angel's Corner but are currently feel cut off from what she's doing. Presenting.
She released this podcast, and her own fans have rejected the podcast. They're like, you know what? This crap sucks. I'm unfollowing you. I'm unsubscribing to you.
Additionally, industry. Now, insiders are making assumptions about the podcast. May not be broadcast for very long because it is struggling with this sudden decline. From Grace poses important queries about Angel's brand administration and awareness of her audience as she keeps promoting next episodes. The viewership figures provide a clear narrative. Simply put, people are no longer paying attention.
This is the people that subscribed to her to begin with. Think about that a minute. That actually decided they wanted to tune in to her.
That sharp decline. It's not simply about declining in listeners. Interest is a clear response to Angel's unexpected guest selections that left fans that are doubting everything rather than introducing sports or other athletes. Angel, an analyst, chose to highlight the impacts reality TV stars. Atlanta, to talk about the dynamics of relationships. Would you be able to tune in expecting basketball observations and instead listening to the majority of basketball enthusiasts have never even heard about?
Angel Reese's latest podcast decision has left her listeners disappointed, primarily due to her choice of guest. Yeah, I think a lot of people were like, who cares about these people? Honestly.
Reese's most recent. Her choice to leave her podcast has left her listeners unhappy, mostly because of her decision of guest. I believe that many people are, as if you are aware of who is interested in these. To be honest, who are these people? Visitors making such a commotion. Jada Chia and Des Dior, two celebrities from reality. The Impact Atlanta on BET and Were entered the podcast and departed. Angel's primary audience in its entirety disconnected. This signifies a full separation from the athletes and musicians who contributed to the development of her first fan base. It's similar to attending a basketball match, only to discover that they're instead playing checkers.
This one right here got 781 views. I don't know who Jada Angel spills the tea and deal with Jada and Dez. I don't know who these ladies are. I just gotta be honest. I don't know who Jada and Dez is, but people ain't feeling them, bruh.
One right. I'm not sure who Jada is, but this has 781 views. Angels is upset with Dez and Jada. I have no idea who these women are. I must admit that I have no idea who Jada is. And Dez is but nobody seems to be feeling. What's even more startling, bro, is the real substance of these episodes. Instead than talking about basketball, programs for strategy training, or the mental elements of competing at the top level, Angel and her guests plunged into the level dynamics of relationships, particularly who ought to make more money in partnerships. Disrate outright said that men must be increasing revenue, while Jada Chia nods, along with the addition that it was their problem in connection to relationships.
One of the questions the WNBA star was asked about money in relationships. Quote, do you feel like you had to date somebody that's in the industry? The WNBA star asked their guests, adding, "Are that's making the same amount of money that you are making or more?"
Angel herself added some remarks regarding the fears of guys, saying a lot. Many males dislike women who have their own. Take a moment to consider it. Second, a basketball player who plays professionally, who is dismantling obstacles for women in sports are now a venue for dialogue regarding the necessity for males to earn more money. Compared to women, the disparity couldn't be more obvious.
They got to be making more money, Des Doria said, to which Jada Cheeves agreed, adding that it is their, quote, issue regarding relationships. As for Reese, she mentioned men's insecurities when it comes to women earning a higher income than their partners. Is that still a thing? That still bothers people?
Well, they must be producing more cash, Deja stated, and Jada Cheeves concurred, adding that their, quote, problem relates to connections. Regarding Ree, she brought up men's insecurities regarding females making more money than their are partners, still something that people are still bothered by. The backlash, which was quick and vicious. Admirers who once defending Angel from detractors are now those who press the unfollow button. A summary of a particularly incisive observation. The annoyance is exactly angelic. These women are accomplishing amazing things. Stuff, but you decide on rappers. Girlfriends to interview simply. Another admirer didn't hold back, which makes me laugh. Assessing the podcast against a single podcast. 3 children evaluating food they haven't consumed.
The one podcast where 3 kids judge food they haven't eaten. Laugh out loud. The same goes for a commenter who said, losing brain cells listening to this podcast. I just said IQ points were literally melting away from my brain pan as we speak.
The comment sections on various platforms paint an awful depiction of a fan base. Some supporters said they felt deceived, were listening and losing IQ points. Others referred to it as the least educational podcast on earth. These are more than just casual viewers. Those who first backed Angel's podcast endeavor but is no longer able to defend viewing material that feels totally disengaged from what created them. Fans initially.
Following the interview, fans expressed dismay over the response they gave about the role of money in relationships, feeling it overshadowed other important topics.
This significant change in the text isn't. Simply put, it's deliberately undermining. Angel established the brand as a fierce basketball legends and competitors who were captivated by her genuine, unrepentant, go to the court now and see someone. Following flimsy content trends instead of focusing on her strong points, it's similar to Michael Jordan's abrupt decision to start a cooking channel without being informed how to bring water to a boil.
Following the interview, fans expressed their dismay over the responses they gave about money in relationships, feeling it overshadowed other important topics. Quote, they said a lot of nothing. The responses are dumb, another person added.
The fans of the interview expressed their disappointment over their answers regarding money and partnerships experiencing it eclipsed other crucial subjects. Quotation, they stated a lot of nothing. The answers are incredibly stupid. Another added, the most. Fans find it frustrating that they may see how the Angels' potential is being wasted, possesses a voice and platform that could highlight important discussions regarding development of female athletes in sports or even social issues that are pertinent to her experience, rather than providing airtime to D-list celebs talking about antiquated relationship patterns that even her professional life is contradictory.
Angel, all these women out here doing phenomenal things, but you choose rappers' girlfriends to interview just really throws me. That's a hell of a good comment. That really is. That's a hell of a good comment.
Angel all. These women are accomplishing amazing things. Stuff, but you decide on rappers. Girlfriends to interview simply. Throws me, that's really fantastic. That's a heck of a comment, actually. An excellent response to all of this podcast drama. Doesn't only ruin Angel's media brand, it could be undermining the very foundation that helped her become well-known in the first position at the precise time of women's basketball is going through a historically growth. Angel appears to be more concerned about being you're more of a podcaster than a gamer. Observed that her social media accounts have changed after being packed with basketball. They're overloaded with podcasts these days. Promotions rather than instruction. Highlights or preparation for the game.
She's got deficiencies in her game, and the reason there's a bigger microscope on this is because as long as people see the same deficiencies over and over again, but then yet see this podcast, it does raise the question, are you putting your time in the appropriate place you need to put it?
This change in focus couldn't occur when women's basketball is at its worst, is at last receiving attention, deserves to draw record numbers of spectators and public awareness, but one of the brightest stars seem preoccupied with a media endeavor that isn't connecting with audiences. The disparity evens out. More pronounced when you consider how different WNBA rookies are getting closer to their jobs they're working hard at in the gym, absorbing the wisdom of veterans, and concentrating hard on basketball growth.
Gotta be honest, I still don't understand why she ain't asked Caitlin Clark to be on that. I mean, that's the one that everybody would tune in for. She hadn't done it. I mean, she'll talk about her all day long to get clicks and get clips cut out, but no, you're not going to actually go out of your way, ask her to come on there.
I must admit that I don't know why she didn't ask. I mean, Caitlin Clark should be on that. That is the one that everyone would pay attention to. And since she hadn't done it, that is, she would discuss her all day long in order to obtain clicks to remove the clips. But no, you won't truly travel outside of asking her to come on there is your method. Professional sportsmen have a very limited window to make the most of their playing careers. The peak years are valuable and fleeting. Consequently, fans are turning into become more outspoken about their issues. In terms of Angel's focus, they're not merely critiquing the content of her program, they're wondering whether she's making concessions. Her sporting ability by dividing her attention at such a pivotal point in one's career.
Meanwhile, one fan questioned Reese's ability to bring on more influential guests onto the show. Interesting. Maybe Angel's not the draw that she thinks she is when it comes to getting people on there. That's interesting.
A fan asked about Reese's capacity to attract more powerful visitors to the show could be intriguing. Angel is not as attractive as she believes she is when it comes to motivating individuals to. That's intriguing, which is what makes this. The circumstance that is most concerning is that Angel established her notoriety by being highly competitive. Her ferocity and commitment to collegiate basketball were. Fans are now her calling cards, observing what seems to be a substantial change in her brand instead of intensifying the things that made her. She appears to have exceptional basketball skills, attempting to achieve fame through having trouble with a podcast.
Social media user left a harsh comment, wrote the least informative podcast on earth. Yikes. For others, the podcast future has been called into question after some listeners